Hi guys, welcome again to your own YouTube channel Ask Your Gynecologist. I am Dr. Sonal Parihar. As usual, I have come back with a new video for you all, and this time the topic is a very small topic and a very frequently asked question. Ma'am, what is polyp? Now, polyp in the uterus, polyp in the cervix, this is a very common finding which you must have come across through your doctor, through your sonologist. So let's discuss what is polyp and what is the difference between a polyp and a fibroid. Now, before I proceed, let me just tell you there are three ways to contact me. Some of you have actually complained that I spend a lot of time explaining how to contact me. Now, that's very important because I started this channel 2.5 years back. At that time, I was probably just experimenting with my YouTube channel, and I had no way to consult you all. I never knew the family will grow so big. I always had my patients in the hospital, and in my free time I used to make such videos. But now I have a family of almost 1 million. There are so many patients who want to connect with me, and many times it happens that you people are probably watching this video for the first time. So unless I tell you how to contact me, how to consult me, how will you know? Because you're not going to consult, or you're not going to go through my channel and see all the videos in which I have told how to consult me. Initially when I started, I had no platform, so I never used to tell me how to consult me, right? So this is the reason why I waste little bit of your time and little bit of my time saying this, telling this again and again in every video. Now, there was a video uploaded just 1.5-2 months back. It was in Hindi, it was not in English, that how to contact me. There are three ways. So the thumbnail is here. In case you understand Hindi, you can always watch it. Otherwise, there are three ways, obviously. First is, you have to, if you want a proper consultation, then you should come to my hospital. That's the address, if lockdown allows, because I have had so many consultations over the years from patients coming from all over the world. In fact, Indians settled outside, they're coming to the hospital. So whenever it is possible, the secretary's number is there. You can always take a consultation and you can come to the hospital and get the best treatment. Second way is, like all other doctors are available these days online, I am available on DocWise app. Please note down the spelling. It's a pink colored application which you have to download from your mobile's Play Store. Then you add my PIN, then you get connected directly with my mobile, and then it's like a text messaging. You can always send me voice messages. I can reply back on voice message, and you get 2 days to chat. So I'm on this platform for 2.5 years. It's a very reliable platform. Third way is, whenever I go live on YouTube, on this channel and the other channel, Dr. Sonal's Answers, you can use Super Chat. There is an option in which you pay, and then you get the answer of your question there and then. Otherwise, during live session, I do not take up the questions which come at that time. I take up the old questions so that I can just pick up a few which are important, and we normally do a half-an-hour session. Fourth way, which I have just recently started, is many patients, many people, many of you, you want to see me talking to you, you want to have a video consultation. Now, I did not choose any other platform because I thought, why not just use my own YouTube channel and my own hospital's number, because that becomes easier. There is no problem, there is no mediator in between. So I always give you my secretary's number, 9358545556. Just WhatsApp her that you want a video consultation from me, and then she will tell you how to do it. Okay, sorry for the wasting of time, but I think this is very important. Now, coming back to the topic, polyps in uterus, polyps in the genital tract. Guys, polyp is an English word. Obviously, it's a medical term. It is generally used for something which hangs with a pedicle. Now, it can be like a grape, it can be like something elongated like a plum, or it can be something like a teardrop. So something which is hanging is called polyp. Now, difference between polyp and fibroid. Fibroid is basically a muscular tissue thing. It grows inside the myometrium. The uterus has 3 layers: the endometrium, the myometrium, and then the serosa. So when it grows inside the myometrium, it is filled up of fibrous and connective tissue that is very stiff, firm structure, which can be of 3 types. We have already discussed this 2 years back in a long video of 15-20 minutes, which was called as fibroids in uterus. Now, fibroids are firm structures which can either form inside the wall. They can be simply just inside the wall, intramural. They can hang inside also, like submucosal, or they can be just outside the uterus inside the tummy. So that is subserous. So there are 3 types of fibroids. Sometimes a fibroid can grow big and hang inside the uterus, and that becomes a fibroid polyp, but still it is not polyp. Simple polyp just contains the inner lining of the uterus, that is the endometrial lining, which normally sheds off during menstruation. So whenever a lady is bleeding, it is the endometrium which comes out, and if somehow that lady manages to have endometrial hyperplasia, or there is some particular point of endometrium which is excessively growing like a tumor, not cancerous, then it becomes a polyp. It hangs, it overgrows and it hangs. Obviously, when it hangs, it will create some problems, and it can be of any size. It can be simply just inside the uterus, the upper part. It can just be hanging there, or it can become long, big, and it can come out of the uterus from the cervix, or it can just come in the vagina, or it can not arise from the uterus, but it can just arise from any other part of the uterus, like the lateral walls or the lower cavity, or even from the cervix. So there are different types of polyps, different locations, different sizes, depending upon which we treat you. Okay, now coming to the incidence. Incidence as quoted in the literature is almost 30%. That means 3 out of 10 ladies in their lifetime will have some or the other kind of polyp in the uterus. But not all need treatment. Only if they are symptomatic they need treatment. And it is generally seen after 35 to 40 years of age. That is when you are going towards your menopause. So only 1% ladies, 1 out of 100 would have a polyp showing up before 30 years of age. And generally these patients are the ones who have high estrogen in their body. Estrogen is the female hormone. Okay. Now, coming to the risk factors. Risk factors, as I said, any hormonal growth, whether it's fibroid, it's polyp, it is always and always the estrogen, the female hormone. So if you're obese, if you are a PCO patient because you have high estrogen, or you are taking tamoxifen for breast cancer or any other reason because of which you have high estrogen in your body, you will tend to have polyps. Also, it is noted that patients who are suffering from hypertension, high blood pressure, they probably have lots of blood vessels, blood congestion in the uterus, which causes the endometrium to outgrow and it becomes like a polyp. Okay, so these are certain risk factors. Next, coming to the signs and symptoms. As I said, if something is hanging, it will obviously cause pain. Okay, now the most important symptom of polyp is pain. The pain can be after intercourse, because obviously when you have intercourse during the orgasm, your uterus contracts. So wherever there is a foreign body inside the uterus, whether it's a fibroid or a polyp, it will tend to contract and try to push it out. So that causes pain during intercourse. In general, you might have a dull aching pain in the lower abdomen because the uterus is not happy. It is continuously contracting to push it out, especially when you are just about to have your periods. So that dull ache might be there. Second most common symptom is bleeding. Now bleeding can be postcoital. You might complain that I bleed whenever I have sex and then it stops after some time. You might bleed after your periods. You might think it's not stopping, it's coming in between, or it's like continuous spotting in between the periods. You might have post-menopausal bleeding. You had your menopause, more than 1 year has passed and now you have started bleeding again. Or sometimes it can be simply spotting, continuing the whole month. Sometimes you might even have just a simple regular bleeding but which is too heavy. So you can present in all kinds, the patient can actually present with all kinds of symptoms of bleeding, and then the doctor has to investigate what is the cause. Okay. Now the third quite commonly seen symptom in polyps is smell. Smell. Why does smell happen? Smell generally would happen if there is infection. Now there are more chances of a polyp getting infected rather than a fibroid getting infected. Why? Because the polyp is hanging. Because of hanging, obviously the blood is congested in the lower part, so the tissue starts breaking up, and because it is rubbing around the tissue, especially if it is hanging outside the cervix, it's in the vagina and you're having intercourse, it will rub against the male part and that will cause bleeding, and you're prone to infection because it comes outside your body. It is exposed to the vaginal environment, so that might cause a smelly whitish come reddish discharge, and the patient will come that I have a foul smelling discharge. It's sometimes white, sometimes with streaks of red, sometimes bloody. So that is a very, very commonly seen symptom in polyps. Now some patients may even complain of weight gain, bloating. Now that happens because of hormonal disturbance. Fine. So if you're fat, that means your estrogen content is more, that means you have polyp or fibroid. So it is like a triad. So obesity, bloating, hormonal disturbance, polyps, fibroids, they all go hand in hand. So it's kind of, you have to see that in a lady of reproductive age group who is having hormones, fat, having PMS as well, having PCO as well, she might have fibroid, she might have polyp, all these come in the same circle, right? Fifth symptom, uncommon but can be possible, is infertility. Now depending upon the location of the polyp, if it is too big and it is obstructing your cervix, then during intercourse you will have bleeding, yes, and then it will not allow the sperms to pass through. Second reason might be that it might destroy or disturb the environment inside the uterus, which disturbs implantation. So even if the sperm is able to travel up, it might not be able to, the zygote, the embryo might not be able to implant in the uterus because of the polyp. The polyps, I will come back again to this, the types of polyps. There are two types of polyps. We'll come back, we'll discuss that later. Third way in which it can cause infertility is obstructing the minute opening of the two fallopian tubes. Now it is a very small opening. Even if a small pea size polyp is there, it might just obstruct that opening and it will cause infertility, right? So if your tubes get blocked, obviously your doctor will see it during hysteroscopy and will remove it. So these are the 4-5 main symptoms which polyp can cause. Coming to, which I just said, there are two types of polyps. Now you don't need to go into the details, but just telling you that sometimes the polyp might have a long pedicle like a stick, just like a rose. It might have a stick, it may not have a stick. So if it has a stick, it has a peduncle, it's very easy to cut it off because you just have to cut the pedicle and the whole lot comes out. So even if the lower part is quite heavy or bulky, you just cut the pedicle and it comes out. Sometimes it is just stuck to the wall. It does not grow like a thin structure which has a pedicle. It just grows like a roundish bomb-like structure, and it has a broad base. That becomes slightly difficult for the doctor to remove, and in that case the doctor will tell you how they are going to proceed. Okay, so depending upon what kind of structure, I discuss this is with infertility, because if it is a pedicle, definitely it will have space around and the obstruction will be less. But if it is just sitting there without any peduncle, then obviously it is going to hide all the parts around it. Okay, so the obstruction will be more. Now coming to the diagnosis, as I have already said, diagnosis can be simple external examination, especially when the doctor is suspecting something, you're complaining of postcoital bleeding. A normal gynec examination with a speculum, the doctor will be able to see the polyp and will be able to diagnose whether it's coming from the cervix or from the uterus. If it's simply a cervical polyp, a small one, it can be easily removed there and then. You don't need any anesthesia. Okay, so external examination. Then comes sonography, very important in gynecology. It can be internal or abdominal sonography to confirm, but the best way would be a hysteroscopy, which is a simple thin camera which goes inside the uterus. We can visualize the vagina, we can visualize the cervix, we can visualize the whole of uterus, because it fills your uterus with water, and we go in swimming and then we see the entire polyp, the size, and then the origin and how long is the pedicle, and then we decide how to proceed. Okay, so that is the best way, the gold standard, and it is not very painful also. Just the diagnosis is not very painful. Some doctors might do a saline sonography. Some people are very fond of that, depending upon the doctor's expertise and choice, and some might even diagnose it during doing an HSG, a hysterosalpingogram. So when we put the dye, we just see that there's a defect which shows that there might be a polyp. Okay, so the gold standard test would be a hysteroscopy. Laparoscopy has no role because it is an endometrial lining tumor. It is just the inner lining of the uterus. It will not grow outside the uterus. So it is going to be inside the uterus only. Okay, it is going to hang there and the doctor has to remove it. Now, not all polyps need removal. The treatment will include surgery as well as medicines. If it is a simple cervical polyp, very small, just we remove it in the OPD without any anesthesia and you go home. Okay, within 5 minutes. If it seems to be a broad one and you think that she might have an endometrial hyperplasia also, sonography is also showing this, there is a lot of growth inside, then we do a DNC, which just needs 10 minutes anesthesia. Recovery is very fast, within 2 hours you're home, and we send the tissue for biopsy. In case hysteroscopy shows it's a big polyp, and we might sometimes miss it during DNC, because the position is that we probably might miss, because DNC is dilatation and curettage is a blind procedure. Then the doctor will go in with the hysteroscope, there is a forceps, just remove it. Sometimes they give you anesthesia, sometimes they don't. If they think the procedure is going to last more than 15 minutes, half an hour, because it's a big polyp, it needs cutting with the help of a resectoscope. Obviously there will be no stitching, no cutting your skin. We just go through the normal path to the cervical tissue and then the uterine canal, and then we insert the resectoscope through that instrument, and it takes just half an hour to remove it. It's a very simple procedure, and you will be put to anesthesia for just about half an hour. Okay, so very simple treatment, no stitches, no cuts, nothing. Next, coming to the medical treatment. If at all you are young and you are in the reproductive age group, and your symptoms, your diagnosis, your investigations, they show that endometrium is very hyperplastic, the entire uterus is full of polyps, or there is a lot of endometrium, then you will be put on progesterone hormone for maybe few months, few years, depending upon your lifestyle, your body structure, your problem. Every patient is different. Okay. Recurrence rate. Now that is the most common question. Will it recur? Well, anything in gynecology, if it is not entirely removed, because we are not removing your uterus, if the polyp is removed and the causing factor is still there, the estrogen is still high, you still have endometrial hyperplasia, yes, there is a tendency of the polyp to come back. Okay, but these are non-cancerous, so don't worry. Very few turn cancerous, so don't worry. Yes, there is a chance of recurrence, and the doctor will decide depending upon your symptoms, depending upon your body structure, your epidemiology, where you are living, your kind of lifestyle, and then they will put you on hormones. So don't worry, and not every polyp needs a surgical treatment. Okay, so just calm down. Right? The last question would be, what is the recovery? The recovery is very fast, because as I said, polyp is either just an OPD procedure or a simple dilatation and curettage of 10 minutes or a hysteroscopic procedure of half an hour. So maximum stay in the hospital would be 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours post surgery, or maybe just 5 minutes in the OPD. So very simple procedure, no cuts, no incisions, no stitches. That's it, and not much major blood loss. Okay guys, so if you like this video, kindly share it. Do not forget to click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, because it gives me motivation to make more videos. It's been 2 years now, more than 2 years, and we are going to cross 1 million very soon. Thank you very much, and I'll be back again with a new video of your choice. Thank you and take care.